In my 2 previous videos, I have shown the process on how I built 2 gates for my property. One going to the house and one going to my shop. This video will cover the process to get them installed, which was a pretty big ordeal as both are extremely large and heavy. So, here we go. 2 notes on the location of the gates and therefore the post. One is the location of the entire gate is pushed off the road so that a truck and a trailer can pull into the driveway completely before hitting the gates. This will allow people who don't have an automatic opener to pull in and access a keypad and be off the roadway. Then second, before punching these holes in the ground, I waited until I built the frame for both of the gates so I could get an exact measurement on how far apart these holes needed to be. They don't need to be 100% accurate, but they need to be close enough because you only have a few inches of play in all directions. Since I live on solid rock, I had to hire a contractor with a rock auger bit to come and punch these holes. 8 holes total. These holes go about 30 inches deep and there are 4 posts at each gate location. 2 for the main post and then 2 for sub-posts that will support the main post that the gate is hinged to. Because once the gate is hung, it's essentially just a big lever on this post, and you don't want the post to give into it. So to provide more rigidity, these 2 sub-posts will be added and then connected to the main post. And you'll see more on this in just a second. I started off by mixing up concrete and setting the main post that the gate will be hinged to, as well as the 2 sub-posts. And it's worth mentioning probably that all of these posts are left tall at this point and will be cut to their final height after the gate's installed. And this entire process was actually taking place while I was working on the gates. So after getting these 3 set, Brian was awesome enough to repeat the process at the house location, then also go around making sure that they all stayed in plumb while they were curing. Alright, for the stringers, which are the pieces of pipe that connect the sub-posts to the main post. For this I used a smaller diameter pipe. To butt up flush to one another, the ends of these stringers need to be profiled. Cody found an awesome free software online where you can type in the angle and the diameter of your pipe, and then it will spit out a printed template that you can cut out, wrap around your pipe, and then trace it to cut. I used my Tomahawk 375 plasma cutter to make these cuts once I have them traced. Like a little tiara. Yeah, it's a hot tiara. And the main thing to pay attention to here is you want the profiles to line up to one another so that the center of the dip on one end is center with the dip on the other end. This was a big job, so Brian and Cody stuck with me throughout the entire process. We would set the stringer in place and test the fit, then take off a little bit here and there with a grinder until both sides rested snugly. Once the fit was awesome, I welded them in place by hooking up a generator to my MP210 machine. Now the angles on these stringers were chosen because the bottom of the post is the most secure because it's knee deep in concrete. However, the higher up you go, the easier it is to pull the post over. You know, if you're a 300-pound gate. So, you want the stringer placement up high on the post to provide it as much support as you can get. Oh, also, before welding the stringers in place, I used a grinder to clean up both posts to get a nice weld. Also ground down some rust in a location so I would have a nice ground contact. And you can see that we used the help of a clamp in place on that lower post to keep the stringer in place while I was setting up to weld. The last thing I did before calling it a day was put on 2 coats of primer and 2 coats of paint. Moving on to mounting the gate. We started off with the gate leading to the shop. I pulled a straight line down to the middle on the hinge side of the gate, then also a straight line down the center of the hinges. Now it's worth noting that these hinges are rated for 700 pounds, which is well above what this gate weighs. We first stuck a 4-foot level on the gate to get it plumbed, then placed the hinge in its spot to start plumbing it with a smaller level, using a magnet as a shelf for the hinge. And a huge lesson you can learn from my experience. You can see that I'm plumbing the hinge by resting a level on the back mounting plate of the hinge and not the barrel itself. It turns out that the barrel was not welded on straight from the manufacturer, which created a problem, of course. But more on that in a minute. After getting the hinge where I thought I liked it, I first tacked it in place and then welded it shut. Alright, and here you can see just how far out the barrel was from the mounting plate. I couldn't leave it this far out of plumb or my 2 hinges would not be on the same line. So the lesson to learn is to plumb the barrel of the hinge and not the mounting plate. Now to fix this problem, I was going to ground off the entire hinge, but Brian suggested cutting through the 2 welds holding the barrel on instead, or at least cutting through them enough to move it over into plumb. I thought this was a great idea, so I grabbed a cutoff wheel and started cutting through. Ta-da! After getting that welded back into place, we shifted the same operation down to the bottom. At this point, using the 4-foot level to span from the top hinge down to the bottom one to make sure that they were on the exact same line from one another.
Brian's pretty good.
Pretty good or good?
It's good.
And it's really important to take your time on this step so the hinges won't get bound up by being misaligned. Okay, now it was time to get the gate down to the entrance to weld on the second part of the hinges. To do that, we first had to play a little musical gates as the huge house gate was blocking the path in and out of the shop. So the guy strapped onto it with the tractor and first set it out of the way. Then came into the shop to grab a hold of this gate. Since there is not an easy grab point on this one like there is on the other, Cody ended up going all the way around the gate, and this worked beautifully. And I tell you what, watching this gate move out of the shop and down to the road was so spectacular. Although it was a lot of work, this was a very fun day for all of us. Moving slowly, of course, down the driveway so that Brian could keep the gate steady, the guy slowly crept up to the post once they were getting close. And once the gate's hinges were pretty close in line with the main post, we piled scrap wood and material on the left side to prop it up to the height we wanted the gate to be, which is around 6 inches for this gate. Then on the right side, we placed a floor jack. Now we were able to place a level on the gate and use the jack to raise or lower the gate into level. Once the gate was level, then we scooted the gate into the post until both of the hinges were resting flat up against the post. Now using a magnet, I attached the second part of the hinge. We once again stuck a level on the fence, but this time in the direction of plumb, trying to get it as center to the main post as possible. Oh man, that's beautiful. Yep. Leave it be.
1, 2, 3, go.
Yep, touching. First, I tacked the hinges in place. Then Brian came back in and checked level and plumb and everything else before I went to town on welding them closed. And now is the moment of truth. We were able to let off the tractor, let off the jack, and then open it up to see if it worked. After doing a victory happy dance, of course.
Did you do your dance again?
Yeah? You want to do a happy dance, Brian? We need to do a group happy dance.
Oh, man. There it is right there. Happy dance. All right.
Ow! Oh my goodness. Oh, watch the hole, April. Are you ready? How does it look?
Looks good.
It does? Like stellar good or just okay good?
Hold on to it. Hold on to it.
Why? What's it gonna do?
I don't know.
Needless to say, I was thrilled with it. The guys needed a little bit of time to be thrilled.
Okay, let's throw the level on top of it. This is gonna be scary.
They watched it move back and forth, moved it up and down, threw a level on it. Then once everything passed their inspection, then they were thrilled. Well, my goodness.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
That's
I like
great.
How it travels up
it's more than
to
pretty good.
Yeah.
This thing is great. And we all just kind of stood back and marveled at it, to be honest.
Looks good.
Yeah.
I like it. It's crazy.
Even though it's hung, there are still a few more tasks to do before calling it done. Now that the gate was actually installed, now the second main post can be set. You want to wait until the gate is in so that you have a little bit of say and play over the amount of space between your second post and the gate. So next I mixed up a little bit more concrete and set the second post, leaving about an inch or so gap. And dang, I love it when everything looks so nice and tidy in the end. The post came out so nice and plumb, and just look at how even that gap is. Next up was installing the gate leading to the house. We repeated almost all of the same steps with just a few differences. The first is when I welded on the hinges, I only plumbed the barrel and not the mounting bracket, and they went in so quickly, not having any mistakes to correct. Another difference is when we welded on the stringers to the subpoles, we made them horizontal instead of attaching them at such a steep angle like the ones at the shop. I personally think it looks way cleaner being horizontal. Something else that you might want to keep in mind if you're going to be installing a gate is we plan to add concrete for this driveway later on down the road, meaning that we are going to be needing at least 4 inches of room underneath the gate for that concrete. So with that in mind, we mounted the gate 8 inches in the air instead of the 5.5 to 6 inches like we did at the shop's gate. After getting the second part of the hinges welded on, we once again had that really cool moment where we got to back off everything and watch the gate open and close for the first time. It's so cool. It's cool to build anything, but there's something really cool about building something so huge and then seeing it function and operate. A few finishing up details included cutting all of the posts to their final height. On the 2 main posts, I cut them to be about level with the gate itself. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh. Of course, prime and painted all of the sub poles and stringer material, and then also did a little bit of touch-up paint on the gate where needed. Oh, and since I had 2 bags of concrete left over, I went ahead and filled up both of the main posts that the gates are hinged to. Then to cap off the post, I ordered some 3.5-inch post caps that are domed on the top that just slip right over the posts. I keep thinking it's the last step, but this really is the last thing I did. I cut out a small flap, then welded it to the back of each gate, just so it will reach out and grab that second post to keep the gate from swinging past it. Oh man, it took a lot of steps to get to this point, but of course I don't mind that. I don't know what a contractor would have cost in order to build and install the gates, but I can tell you that we only spent $1,200 between both gates. We still need to buy the actuators, but I can still guarantee that that is a lot of money saved since I built the gates myself. Don't forget that there is still a few days left to pick up a Stop Cracks in Their Track shirt, which is something inspired by my shop gate. I do have them in both male and female cut, so be sure to check the link in the description below if you'd like one. And if you're a gate builder or a gate installer and have a tip that I missed, then please leave it down in the section below so that future viewers can hopefully draw off of it if they're going to be tackling this project. That's it for this one. I hope that y'all enjoyed the series, and I will see you on my next project.
Working?
I don't know, but this is sure does make me feel cool. Oh yeah, it's working like a champ. Ta 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 ta. Chow. Just do this the most complicated way there is. Ah.
You did a good job visualizing the whole thing.
Thanks.
I think, like I said before, I thought it was going to look pretty stupid. But
Did you really think that?
Yeah.
You sure waited a long time to say that.
Okay, honest. Who's gonna go get the beers?